Hey, it's James. How I got custody and father's rights and resources. I want to talk about 6 reasons why I was better off representing myself. Now, I first started off my case in a panic, calling law firms and calling around the greater Seattle area. I first called a law firm full of con artists and scams and sellouts by the name of Goldberg and Jones. They have a moniker, um, Divorce Lawyers for Men. And they created that moniker or phrase or theme in order to get desperate men to come through their door and come through a constant revolving door. I've talked with attorneys who used to work there, and one admitted that Goldberg and Jones, the owners, laugh about the fact they got so many guys coming in and out. And even if they don't retain you or you don't retain their services, they at least got your 100, $200 for that initial consult fee. So it's a scam, and they laugh about it. They're on the BJ Shea Show on KSW, or they used to be. They advertise on KJR. I've talked to those guys and told them that they sell men out all the time. So when I was talking to them at first, they said, you'll get every other weekend, and we want $5,000 up front. I said, I live 3 blocks from my baby's mom. I work at night, and we intentionally agreed when she was pregnant that I'd work at night and I'd be the daycare for my daughter, even though I'm not a daycare. The first person who should have the child is the other biological parent. And there's a thing in court they use a lot of time called the first right of refusal, or the right of first refusal. And a lot of stupid, jackass, ignorant attorneys don't even put that down for fathers in their paperwork and give that as an option. And so the mother will find a babysitter for everybody else, a babysitter for the children, and it'll be anybody else except the father. But if they had the first right of refusal, the father would have the first chance to refuse the right to see the kid or whatever. So, in any case, Goldberg and Jones tells me, you'll get every other weekend. I said, well, why can't I have my daughter during the day when the mother's at school? Well, you'll probably still get every other weekend. We want $5,000 up front. So up front, they were going to sell me out, and they weren't going to fight for me. So reason number one why I was better off doing it myself is maybe the most important reason. Nobody cares about my case except me. Nobody cares about my child except me. I care about my child. I love my child. The lawyers don't love your kids or mine. They're there to make money, and they are there to drag a case out. I had a client I was dealing with. We looked at his case and his case history. He paid a lawyer up front $5,000, and the mother didn't file a response to her paperwork until 2 or 3 months afterward. Now, if you look at a summons in Washington State, it says, when you sit there and read it right in front of your face, it says, if you don't reply within 20 days to this summons and petition, you could be found in default and lose everything, and the petitioner can get everything. This father's attorney, gosh, I forgot her name. I think it's Leslie Baltimore in Tacoma. She took his $5,000 and sat on the case for a month and a half, 2 months, maybe 3 months. I think it was closer to 2 months. And waited for the mother to respond. Based on the law and what's stated, and what I've known and seen in my own case and in other cases, and guys who never responded, is the person who filed got everything they asked for. Like if I sue Microsoft for $1 million because I slipped and fell on their property, and they don't answer, in 20 days I'm going to file a motion for default and get that however much I sue them for or articulate in the paperwork. So this guy, Leslie Baltimore, just sat on his paperwork. He could have had a default, but by the time he got a hold of me and talked to me, he had been through about 2 or 3 years of hell. He had custody of the child while the mother was in jail, lost custody because Judge Fleck, who's a mediator in downtown Seattle, hated the father so much, she waited until the mother got out of jail, postponed trial, and then gave her custody and say the father didn't have a bond with the child, even though the child's, it's Judge Deborah Fleck. And it's with one of the more popular mediators down. I'll do a whole video on a bunch of corrupt mediators like John Curry in Auburn and a bunch of hustler cooks and cons like that. So, number one, nobody cares about your case like you do. Nobody cared about my case like I did. It's my child. So when there's things like a default like that, if that guy knew what he was doing, he could have cared enough to end the case in 3 weeks. But he went through years of hell because Leslie Baltimore just sat on the case. But see, if she would have defaulted or got the father a default, then the case would have been over and she would have to give back like $4,000. She didn't want to do that. She wants to burn all that money out. So that's why I digressed that way, because all they care about is money. They don't care about passionately representing you. I passionately cared about my relationship with my daughter. That's why I went through hell and the pain and suffering, late nights and all-nighters and false accusations and things, because at the other end of that tunnel, that dark tunnel full of snakes and vipers and traps, booby traps and thugs, is my daughter. So I'm going through that tunnel no matter what, because of my passion and love for her. Nobody cares about my case like I do. And number two, because it kind of ties in, but no lawyer had time to work on my case like I did. I had one case to work on, my case. Lawyers juggle 20 to 60 clients at one time. I once interviewed with a law firm. Oh gosh, I once interviewed with a law firm, and they said they wanted 60 clients at all times, just to be able to pick at and pick money at. Not that they were capable of juggling. Imagine juggling 60 cases. But they wanted that on the back burner. They wanted 50 cases that they could pull up or make active or whatever. So nobody has time to work on my case, do the research and all the other stuff, except me or like me. Attorneys are juggling 20 other clients at any given time. They don't got time to study and put their passion and everything into one case. And then that kind of ties into the next one. Number three is I can act when I want. I don't have to wait for a call back from my attorney 2, 3, 4 days later to find out, should I do a revision on this commissioner's ruling? It's a bogus ruling. Should we appeal? Should we go do a motion for reconsideration? No, I just go do it. I don't sit around and wait. I act. So number four, this one's huge. A lawyer would have to memorize my life or my case. I don't have to memorize my life. It's all right here because I lived it. When I got my daughter's mother found in contempt, you can find that contempt order on my website, howigotcustody.net currently, and it says proof of James's wins in one of the tabs. And you can see I won contempt, and the mother's attorney with 17 years experience signed it, and I was representing myself. I got her found in contempt the first try, and in the middle of the argument, I argued, then he argued, and then I remembered off the top of my head a couple things that happened that I didn't put in my paperwork, but I had exhibits. I had about 20 exhibits. I said, Your Honor, if you turn to this exhibit, look, here's where the mother promised she was going to let me see the child. And then here's an exhibit with the calendar of all the time that I missed. And here we are, I finally got a court order, and she still can't abide by it. So she has no intention of letting me see my child. It's bad faith, yada, yada. While I was doing that, I saw the attorney out of the corner of my eye. He's flipping through the paperwork. He can't even find it. He's lost because he can't memorize what I already knew. And I was reciting stuff that happened earlier in the case before she got the attorney. Nobody knows my case like me. It's my life. I don't have to try and memorize it. And they're juggling 20 other clients. How are they going to memorize everybody's life in detail as well as I can memorize my own case or my own life? So number five is I don't have to worry about being politically correct. These attorneys are all buddies that go to the same cocktail parties. They're all part of this culture of anti-father, pro-mother feminism, and they don't even want to rock the boat. And that's why Goldberg and Jones wouldn't even ask for more than every other weekend. You don't ask for custody for a father. You don't say the mother committed violence when she assaulted you or the child, because it looks bad on you to call out a criminal or a child abuser in court. How insane is that? Well, I don't have to worry about that because I'm not a member of the bar. I don't have to follow their status quo. I don't have to go to the same cocktail parties or the same cocaine parties or the same swinger parties that a lot of them do. A lot of them, trade sex for services. I'm not tied to any of that corruption. I can act and tell the truth in court without any reservations. And then number six, guys usually win more when they represent themselves and learn how to do it. There's a whole bunch of guys out there who are trying to wing it on their own. They don't have anybody helping them out, guiding them, showing them where stuff is, or giving them shortcuts. Like if I knew then what I knew now, things that literally took me weeks or months, I can do within hours with what I know now. That's why I wish I had somebody like me back then. I had somebody who shared about 1% of what I